and welcome to the Raw Review. We are the Dadley Boyz of What Culture. I'm Adam Wilborn, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, here to review everything that happened on last night's episode of Men and How. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we're not going to review Raw, but also SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week complete. And a bigger quiz, of course, on Wrestle Culture. As I said, though, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick to review Monday Night Raw. Thoughts on the post-Crown Jewel Raw?
And all the
fallout, thank you.
I returned to form after last week's mess, and unexpectedly so, because I did think I just couldn't be arsed with another taped show. Another thing that felt like it was going to be out of time or stuff they were going to save or anything like that. They didn't, realistically. It didn't. No spoilers at the timeline, which was nice. And I quite like the developments. I feel as though Triple H has been a bit of a stubborn prick the last few weeks, as if like this multi-million-pound deal that WWE benefit from twice a year doesn't exist. And then it's as if somebody drops it on his desk a month out. But I've got all my very carefully curated plans. Well, you know this is supposed to be part of them. And I've sort of sensed that in the TV leading up to Crown Jewel. And maybe it's just because now in his head, he's like, well, it's fine, our Road to Survivor Series goes out the way. They're still on tape. They're still in Saudi Arabia. They're still very much a part of this. But this just felt like a Raw that got its focus back a little bit. It's a flaw. He has to contend with this every year. He has to, whether it's belt versus belt at Crown Jewel, whether it's like King Queen of the Ring was a pretty great workaround that fed into everything else, all that sort of stuff. But he's got to consider it more, I would say, next year, because I felt like you could notice where things weren't timing out or patterned in the way that I've gotten used to with his exec producing of late. And I'm glad I think he's glad to see the back of it, and I sensed it from this Raw too.
I thought this was mediocre. In all honesty, it was a pretty action-heavy show. I didn't get much out of the action outside of one match, which itself I was a little bit underwhelmed by. There was one storyline development, even though I'm not such a bitch about the Bloodline. I know,
The bitch line.
I know. There was one bit where I was like, I kind of felt something for that.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, something else happened on this show that was quite cute on its own terms that undermined what I thought of the big thing, Bloodline related. We'll get to it. But as a result as well, where I'm thinking, but we just left.
I think I agree on that one.
Yeah.
There was a point, me and Hamflett talked about this morning, where that I assume it's the main event we're talking about here, and you thought, it's happening.
We'll get to it, but it would have been such a fantastic finish as well, had it played out when you thought it might. Yeah, never mind.
But let's start at the beginning of the show. Big recap for Crown Jewel, of course, and then out comes Liv Morgan with Dom and Raquel. She's got her world title. She's got the Crown Jewel preposterously sized ring on, and she welcomes us to Monday Night Morgan. Declares
Oh, God.
Liv Morgan revenge tours over, the world tour starting. She took out Rhea Ripley for a third time. She's going to be out for a very long time, she said. She beat Tiffany Stratton and travelled halfway around the world to become the inaugural Crown Jewel champion. She's done all she said she was going to do, proving she's the greatest women's champion of all time. Dom goes to speak, obviously gets booed out of the building, saying he's going to win tonight, become the next world champion. And then they're interrupted by the tag champs. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair come out. Bianca says, Liv, you aren't the only one who walked out of Crown Jewel with some gold around your waist. Talks about what happened with them last week. Jade says that they're tired of waiting. They want to defend the titles right here, right now. Liv says, you interrupted our celebration. Why are you so angry? You won on Saturday. Oh, is it because, Bianca, you think you're the EST, the fastest, the strongest, etc., etc.? But the problem with it is that your teammate also thinks the same thing about herself. You can pretend you really get along, but your friendship's fake. We're real mates, me and Raquel. The only thing keeping you two together is the tag team titles. Bianca says, let's have a bare knuckle fight then. And Raquel says, no, tonight's about celebration. Here comes Postman Pierce to break it all up. Tells Dom to back up. There was a nice aside from Liv. Don't talk to him like that. As this all happens, Liv warns Jade about the knife Bianca's going to use to stab her in the back, and Bianca just twats Liv in the face. It's a great slap, this. And Pierce separates them, says, stop what you're doing. We're going to have a battle royal to see who's going to face you, Liv Morgan, for your world title next. And Bianca and Jade are in it, and even bigger news than that, it starts right now.
I thought all of this was decent without ever being great outside of that slap you highlighted, because she did absolutely wallop her. I like Liv Morgan now moving on to, like, in her mind at least, bigger and better things. There'll be another day for Rhea Ripley and whatever else they want to follow up on that when she's back. But in her mind, feeling like she's kind of across all of Raw now and having that kind of arrogance to be able to think, no, what I'm going to do, I'm going to step in between you two because I think I can divide and conquer with you guys.
Called for more dissension between the two of them as well.
This is it, yeah. This is that. It's a kind of Triple H plotting thing, but the thing gets mentioned now when there's only kind of circumstantial evidence to support it, so that the heel's got a reason to say it, but nothing really that stands up that much. But over time, we will see the dissension, or we will see, at a bare minimum, that, like, which we got in the match, that sort of competitive energy between the two, of which there's no problem, like, ostensibly, until there becomes a problem between the two. So yeah, didn't mind this as a development, but I just thought it was a little bit, I don't know, like a little bit ham-fisted, but I think part of that is Liv Morgan's, like, entire run, ultimately. That's kind of like how she performs as well. She came up in a system that didn't ask you to be clever or subtle or try. You would just recite. And I think some of it came across too recited, but I don't mind the developments.
Yeah, I thought this kind of sucked. I will say that the tease of Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair happening was like, I will be seated, to use young people's vernacular. I will be seated when that match happens. I think it's a big match. I think they can build it really well. The first glimpse of it was like, all right, we know it's kind of happening.
Yeah.
None of this happens by accident. That was the one thing I took from this. The other thing I took from it was I understand that I'm going to be a hypocrite here, because you kind of want to have the women's tag team division of importance. I have to endure this absolute nothingness every single week. And maybe by presenting it at the start of the program gives it focus and then the illusion of importance and significance. So maybe that's a good thing and I shouldn't complain about it. At the same time, because you know that the attitude will always persist, starting the show with a segment involving the women's tag division ostensibly just set the tone of, this is going to be a bit of a filler. Low stakes, 2 hours, great, can't wait to watch it. Liv Morgan, who got slapped in the face at the right time. She was pretty excruciating with her delivery. So much so that I was thinking, I hate this. And then she got the slap. I was like, oh no, that's why that happened. There is absolutely nothing to distinguish the way she carries herself, maybe even the verbiage itself, and that cadence from, let's just say, Roxanne Perez, that disingenuous WWE women's roster mean girl heel. I hate it so much. It is a pollutant all over the show. I don't like the attitude it reflects. I find it deeply annoying, and it's just not good. And it's so samey that I just think it's at the root of the issues with the way that Paul Levesque books the women's division.
It's definitely a performance trait, and I think it has maintained from it's in this Triple H period and the latter day WWE Vince McMahon one as well. It's the content of Liv Morgan's promos I find more often than not, at very least, because she's been a big star this year and the story has been important and one of Raw's sort of big success stories. The content, by and large, tends to have a bit more meat on the bones than almost everything else in the division. And she's the champion, so it should do.
Yeah.
And I think it did here, but the performance lets it down. Some of that is on Liv Morgan. Some of it is absolutely on a house style that they just still seem glued to, based on Roxanne Perez. And I think there is contemporary evidence that this still goes on. Just cadence, got the feeling that they will go backstage having delivered these lines and been given an attaboy. All right, that was exactly what we wanted.
By the blokes who wrote it.
Yeah, you have nailed that in exactly the way we want it. That kind of encourages that sort of, that continuation of the same performance style. And again, it's not just that
Fatal Influence speaking the exact same way.
It's not just that it's repetitive or that there's loads of it. It's that it is really dated, and typically the characters in this division that gets almost no attention, that get over, are the ones that deviate from that. It's Bianca Belair got over because she was simply the best at a load of stuff. The EST was this gimmick that she could live. Becky Lynch underwent a metamorphosis on account of her fame and fortune, and then kind of walked it back as she grew into being a babyface all over again. These are actual human character traits in the place of this.
Yeah.
Like, you could probably go back to the Attitude Era, and there's been at least one character at any given point that's like had this type of character trait, and it's just as a result the content rings hollow when she's been involved in some big stories and had like the Revenge Tour to the World Tour is somebody growing in confidence and experience now that she's atop this division. That's all right. That's like decent motivation, but it is just delivered in that same tired, tropey way that needs to go.
Yeah. So we got the Battle Royal next. It features, as I mentioned, Jade, Bianca, Io Sky, Kairi Sane, Lyra Valkyria, Sonya Deville, Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, Shayna Baszler, Isla Dawn, Alba Fire, Maxine Dupri, Ivy Nile, Zoe Stark, Zelina Vega, and Natalia. And Carter and Chance waste no time, diving off the top onto everyone. Isla Dawn is the first eliminated by Carter, but Shayna gets rid of her. She gets saved by Katana Chance, does Kaden Carter, but then Sonya Deville just chucks her out anyway. Maxine Dupri gets a little moment to shine. She gets the jersey ripped off her. She's got like an ice hockey jersey on. She does a worm. And then out you go. Ivy Nile gets rid of her. Zelina Vega gets rid of Nile via a 619.
Out you go.
Done your bit. Did you worm?
Yeah.
Oski.
During the break, Kairi Sane eliminates Vega. Natalia eliminates Alba Fire. And Chance was eliminated, but I think walked on her hands to get back, and then goes, see you later, when they come back. Belair gets rid of Kairi Sane, and Baszler and Deville get rid of Natalia. And they've got their backs turned, and then the tag champs get rid of them, which leaves our final four: Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Lyra Valkyria, and Io Sky. Belair and Cargill obviously team up, or not team up, but split off. And there's a moment where they're the only two left in the ring, and you think they're going to have the little handshake, right? Let's go at it moment. But they get attacked from behind by Valkyria and Sky. They fight them off. Cargill hits Jaded. Belair hits the KOD. But then Raquel and Liv get involved. Raquel pulls Bianca's hair hard, pulls her basically out of the ring with that. Or Jade tries to prevent that from happening, and Liv gets her. They're both eliminated, so we're down to... Well, I say they're both eliminated, and then Liv Morgan's personal security guard, Raquel Rodriguez, leads the moment of running away as they're chased through the crowd by Jade and Bianca. So, yeah, it's Lyra and Io left. This is awesome chant from the crowd.
Was it?
They're fighting on the apron. Valkyria kicks Sky into the ring post. There was a nice moment as well where I think Valkyria had like a leg wrap around the bottom rope, and Io Sky was just stomping on her trying to get rid of her. But in the end, Io Sky hits Valkyria with a German suplex on the apron. Valkyria falls out. Io Sky celebrates. She is the new #1 contender.
Enjoyed everything when there was just 4 left and almost nothing before that. Like, Battle Royals we've seen it like a lot in the last few years, actually. Battle Royals can have mini stories playing out between the ones that are never really going to win. If anything, it's a vehicle to create something for them. There'll probably be matches spinning off this, but we won't remember when we come preview next week who interacted with who in this early stage, because there was just so little effort placed on any of that. I did like when you were down to 4. We used the Bron Breakker, Jacob Fatu example as the opposite of John Cena and Randy Orton. When you get that moment of the two people about to come together, the swell of the crowd will determine if you've done a good job as a promotion or not. And you could feel that rise in sense of excitement for Jade and Bianca before it was cut off and taken away. That's a nice little acid test for the idea. And everyone knew that was going to work anyway, but it's just nice to see that play out all the same so soon after the first tease of dissension. And I thought Io Sky and Lyra Valkyria, I bought them competing to win this, which again is a credit to the wrestlers. For often wrestling Triple H's mediocre to bad booking out of trouble. Like, they wanted this match.
I know we picked Io, but I also thought Lyra had a chance here.
Yeah, you sensed them as... Like, Lyra's not really done much of late, and then instantly when there's a title on the line, you sensed her as wanting it, and I just think that's...
Battle Royal is just like an automatic.
Kind of, and like, I don't rule out Io Sky winning the title in something of an upset, because they've just shown you quite a potential... big deal of a tag title match with Liv and Raquel, who could then win the belts to further force the wedge between the champions as well. So they've mapped out a way in which Io wins, not just if you're a big fan of her and wanted to take the title, but in kind of a logical booking way as well.
I can't remember a lot of this. I just remember blinking. All right, loads of them have gone. It was just like there's just nothing to the action here. It just wasn't distinct. It wasn't electrifying. Like all the good adjectives you would use to describe a match. Like did it exhilarate me? No. Did it amuse me? No. Did I think bloody hell you're hitting each other a bit hard there? No. Did I feel anything? No. I thought the final two, there could have been some more suspense there. It just felt like, when you watch like a TV talent show and pick any, like Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, whatever, where they do, like there's 4 judges and they go, buzzer, you suck, get off the stage. And then there's like either they all hate it, bang, 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 bang. The other ones, I'll give them a shot after a few minutes, or it just all plays out because the audition's really good. This felt to me like whenever anything kind of maybe got going, bored of you get out. It felt like it was being judged in real time, and it was just people were so bored by it. Get to the bit with to build the women's tag team match. Right, okay. Io Sky and Valkyrie, I'm bored of you. They could have done a lot of suspense with that match within a match.
Yeah.
Could have given Lyra Valkyria, who they've not really booked particularly well at all, particularly over the last however many months. Could have given us something in defeat here. Nah, get out. I did like the finish. Io Sky's got quite the bridge.
Yes.
They did the backstage thing as well where Io offered Lyra Valkyria a shot if she wins as well, off the back of like having a bit of respect, like Damage Control baby faces, don't they? So,
they could have been more competitive and drawn out as, you really pushed me there. I was impressed by you. It just felt like, get away.
Wouldn't have cared less about Pure Fusion Collective either.
Oh, God, I can't even remember they exist.
As you were talking there, I was like, what's the name of that group? What's the name of that? Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's terrible. Terrible name. But yeah, I'm glad Io Sky won. I think we called it, obviously. But also, it was the right.
Obviously, goes without saying.
It was the right decision.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Then we go with Kathy Kelly to interview the New Day. More problems for them. Xavier. They talk about the fact they're facing the War Raiders, but they lost obviously the title shot last week to them. And Xavier Woods says they should have won last week. And they would have if Chad Gable didn't interfere. Kofi's a bit like, I'm not too sure about that one. It didn't go the way you've described it there, basically. And Woods says, well, you dropped the ball, mate. You're the one who got beat. He's like, you sure about that? You think you should watch the tape here, mate, before we get into what it cut to, more dissension.
Yeah. I'll be honest, as somebody that has loved this pretty much from the off, I found myself a little bit tired of them this week, this promo and then the match later on as well. I like that phrase. You introduced me to the phrase idiot plot, Sidge, as relates to the Bloodline. I can, as evidenced by Bloodline, still enjoy an idiot plot, but I couldn't enjoy this one.
As evidenced by the 35 years you've spent on your chosen hobby.
Correct. This week, this one, I'm so excited for the, Postman Pierce later promises there's going to be a special 10th anniversary edition of Raw dedicated to the New Day.
Is that next week or the week after?
2 weeks, or 3 weeks time?
Hang on, I'm looking into it now.
But I love the idea of an entire...
November 28th.
So it'll be the post-Survivor Series one, I think, maybe.
Oh, hang on, wait a second. Yes.
But so I love the idea of an entire episode shaped around celebrating them as they've kind of never been further apart.
Yeah.
That allows for a bit of comedy or a bit of tension or even a bit of sadness as kind of Big E's buzzing for it and the two of them are barely speaking.
Yeah.
So I get that you've kind of got to get to the point where they're virtually not even on terms by the time you hit that point. But it was a bit obvious, a bit petrolly for me this week.
They've been doing it a long time.
Yeah. They've also forgiven each other plenty of times, I imagine, in the 9 years for similar mistakes.
Yeah.
They don't win every week. And there would have been countless times where one had slipped up and it's all right, because we'll get the belts back sooner or later with a New Day. That's what we do. And now, all of a sudden, I can't forgive that, mate. Well, just watch tape, friendo. And we'll do, pal. And it's just I don't know. I found it a bit off-putting this week as opposed to quite dramatic.
Yeah. I don't hate this at all. I think they've done a good job with it. Again, a bit long on the old tooth ski, realistically. What I hated about this was WWE is not allowed, absolutely not allowed, to be cute with just watch the tape back, buddy. I will not permit WWE to do this, right? They and I will hands up. I've always been fair. They have scaled back the criminal use of the invisible camera. They've scaled it back under Levesque. Well done, bare minimum. So it's not as egregious and, quite frankly, offensive to me.
Should be a character in Bear Country.
As it used to be, right?
Bare minimum.
Yeah, bare minimum.
Tags in, does one boot, then tags back out.
Bare minimum. That's what they do anyway. Yeah. That being said, Kofi Kingston saying that you can do that indirectly impacts pretty much all of the Bloodline stuff. Do you know what I mean? It just really tears a hole in that fabric.
November 28th doesn't make sense. I've just realised that's a Thursday. So I think that must have been like the first match of theirs as the New Day back in 2014. So I don't think they've actually said it.
It'll be the go home or the post,
25th is probably most likely, end of the month.
Right.
Just before Survivor Series. I would assume anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, as they're arguing here, the feed cuts. It's the Wyatt Sicks, along with an homage or a flashback to the Miz-tourage. Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel.
It'll take him, a decade to get the old revenge on that.
They're going to do something about
that. And the Miz is tied to a chair. He's got a mask on. And Miz pleads his case. You got this all wrong, Uncle Howdy. You want the final? You want the final testament? I'm not with them. This is a big misunderstanding, but let's just forget all about this.
Leave it, Uncle Howdy. It's not worth it.
Bo Dallas says, I never cared about the final testament. I want you. He told Miz he'd crawl on his belly through thorns and thistles for all the pain he'd inflicted on others. He begged and pleaded for mercy until he returned to the ground. For dust you are, and to dust you will return.
For dust you are.
And Dexter Lumis runs up and snatches up Miz as the feed cuts off. When we go back, Michael Cole's like, just to clarify, that wasn't our production department.
Yeah. For dust you are, and let me grab you in this top wrist lock. This was trash. I've legitimately enjoyed the Wyatt Sicks in spite of myself. I think the in-arena booking of them in particular is quite impressive. Building goes nuts for them, and then you get this, you get something physical that pays off that excitement rather than it just being, right, you get to put your phone light on for a second, you get to be a firefly, and then, magic powers, and then it's gone. No, they've, for me, seemingly squared it, and yet it is the highest tightrope in wrestling, this entire story, because a week like this and it just falls off and it was all for naught because they kind of can't help themselves. So we're living in truth now with the Wyatt Sicks. This is not supernatural. We know they can edit the feeds. We can kind of just about accept that they can hack into the mainframe and get their tapes played on Raw. Fine. Kidnapping and threat of murder, making Karrion Kross's hilarious deadpan a shoot. So he's probably dead. You weren't wrong. If he's not dead, he'll be dead next week because this ends in what? The Miz putting his tights on for a 7-minute TV match? It's dumb.
I had a real flashback to the, remember when you were talking about it, when he fought Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt kidnapped or threatened his kid or whatever.
Yeah, and he came out.
And he's doing his big entrance.
Doing
really
his
affected by this, are you?
They're already they held themselves to a set of standards that I didn't expect early on when they would give VCR tapes, VHS tapes, VCR, video recorder,
Betamax,
where they'd actually hand it over and say, well, we should probably play these. It's now the hack and da mainframe. You had a little detail that was right, this is just a little touch, the kind of thing that I appreciate of, there's an actual tape here, please play it on our behalf or whatever. We're hacking the mainframe now. So that's already gone. I don't know why he'd be giving Consulate on a freaking Saudi taped show and a kidnap angle. Let's just address the elephant in the room here. What are you thinking? And here's the thing. They don't think.
No.
They are encased in their oblivious, vile little bubble where they just have no sense of anything that goes on or sensitivities. It's still a pretty rotten company, even though, Vince is gone.
I saw a tweet about this that nailed it as well. Yeah, that said, you couldn't have done this on literally any other show.
Yeah.
Even if it's the go-home show for Crown Jewel, it's not in Saudi Arabia.
I didn't draw the conclusion, and then you mentioned it just before we were recording. It's like, yeah, that was really
real bad.
Really tone deaf.
They're stupid, man. They've got knee sense, or they've got no sensitivity for something so trivial like this. The verbiage was spooky word salad, and the person who wrote it doesn't know that it doesn't make sense.
It's a good job they had the Miz's hands tied behind his back, though. Because otherwise, if his hand goes up, obviously, Uncle Harry's mouth would have had to go shut. So they thought about that at least.
So was he to lighten the mood, any?
Yeah, it's like,
was he to ignore?
And Karrion Kross, he remains kind of like almost a sub Kevin Owens making sense of all this nonsense character all of a sudden. In one of his latest uploads where he's just farting around with Scarlett, doing drawings. He's still probably dead. Like, to Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston's point, we'll presumably watch this tape and find the Miz saying, I don't care about Final Testament, I'm just trying to get out of trouble, Uncle Howdy. So now he's going to break his legs.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
That,
You shout at him first.
That's the bit of the story I want to watch, is him now, like, enact his threats, basically. But it just, this was the worst moment yet for the Wyatt Sicks. Like, I feel like a lot of haters got what they've been looking for a long time with this Wyatt Sicks.
Uncle Howdy versus the Miz. I don't think it's going to feed families.
No.
Yeah.
Then we get the
Feed goth families.
then we get the flashback to
Feed the ones that want to crawl on the thorns and eat the thorns.
Yeah.
What's that about? Thorns on your belly. Dock leaf.
We look back at Goldberg recently announcing he's going to have a retirement match in 2025. Thoughts on that, by the way?
That's pretty good, isn't it? Like, I've got a weird sense of nostalgia with Goldberg.
I'm next, and he's going to spear himself.
Perfect retirement. Perfect.
Yeah, he spears himself in every match on the old turnbuckle.
It's like the opposite of a traditional wrestling retirement, because for the Goldberg retirements play out, I mean, I'm not even going to use the Sting example, but like, people just wanted Sting to win in the face of what would normally be go out on your back, all that sort of stuff. With Goldberg, it's not even that, is it? It's like a perfect Goldberg retirement match is a perfect Goldberg squash.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to sound odd. They might not have a better retirement match in them than the time he just absolutely destroyed Dolph Ziggler at that SummerSlam. A mid-carder that was there to be fed to Goldberg.
This is my last match, and then another one,
Yeah.
and then another one.
Like, I like the idea of looking at Goldberg and Gunther for a second, but I want old man Goldberg to run at Gunther and just get chopped to the ground and beaten, and that's not really a Goldberg retirement match. It's an interesting problem, the Goldberg retirement match, because you can have fun with it, but is it not really just an old-fashioned Raw reunion night where he just comes back and spears a loser? I like how you can't do a 10-minute match. Those were the worst Goldberg matches.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't quite know what the perfect Goldberg retirement looks like.
I'm not interested. There's a lot of people who have this, like, I think it's earnest but halfway ironic, just love of Goldberg that's just unwavering. I loved him at the time. He's one of the few people who, I had that Fed brain at the time. I mean, you still got it, and you're 39 years old.
They're never going away.
I was like,
we are all in our 30s. The Fed will always be on top. Fact.
Well, I was like 13 or whatever, and I was like, oh, you'd read the mags, WCW, it's not the Fed. But like Goldberg, like, punctured that.
It was Bobby Heenan loved him, and that did something to me. I was like, he saw him as this one creditor. You can kind of sense his commentary. He kind of hated all of these losers.
Yeah.
And then it was like, but Goldberg's good.
Saw a clip with Heenan recently. I think it was yesterday, and he had a shoot neck problem, and someone, I think it's
Pillman.
Brian
Brian
Pillman,
Pillman, yeah.
grabs him. He's like, I'm not having this, and he nearly left. Apparently, he just went, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, drops a big Swirsky.
Yeah.
Just loose cannon stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing with Goldberg is that 1998, yes, I can imagine being enthralled with this dude in 1998. I mean, he's an absolutely incredible, explosive specimen. Like, you cannot replicate the magic that he cast. This WrestleMania 33 was the absolute pinnacle.
Yeah.
That was, 7 long years ago. It's insane. Certain wrestlers can do it until they're old, and some of them are better for it. Terry Funk. Not this version of Tanahashi. I goddamn love 2017, 2018 Tanahashi, where he's kind of been lapped. He doesn't really need to be there. He's done his bit. Then he just has this, the man who led the resurgence has this resurgence himself, and like he's just walking through the murder boy Kota Ibushi. Kurt, he's almost from Ashington then. Kota Ibushi.
The girls love us.
That G1 final, 2018 was it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. There's a way to grow old gracefully as a pro wrestler where, again, sometimes you are even better for being a little bit broken.
More go Ace instead of go Ace.
Yeah, go Ace. Goldberg ain't that wrestler. I don't know how they're going to do this. It's probably going to suck.
I didn't like the Lashley stuff, and that was positioned
That was crap.
dream match stuff.
Utter crap. They almost died again.
All them baggy shorts for the Drew match. I was like,
There was a SummerSlam match where Goldberg nearly died again. Couldn't stop nearly dying, that dude. That's not good.
no.
Don't laugh.
I know he should face. Not Gunther, obviously.
He's meant to be invincible. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of good Goldberg. It's dangerous and it's not nice to watch.
Goldberg. He's just fine.
Yeah.
So you want a short match
Yep.
with a really impactful spear.
I know where you're going.
And who on earth's going
Pass the old torch.
Yeah, but who on earth's going to volunteer to take that sort of brutal spear? I mean, it really hurts when you get hit with that spear and a jackhammer. Who could possibly? Oh, Ilya Dragunov. He's going to
That wasn't where I thought you were going, but I quite like that. I was thinking Dominic Mysterio.
still be.
Braun Breaker.
Bron Breakker.
Breakker.
See, as we
another
speak
name.
about it, I'm obviously getting talked into it.
Fine, Goldberg. You can have you. We've squared it away. You can have your retirement match. We're okay with it.
I saw Dominic Mysterio on Chris Van Vliet, I think it was recently, just offering out anyone and everyone, basically. I want to see that match. Yep.
I love him. He's a credit to the industry. Should be
Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah.
He's become very dear to me.
Dom beating up Goldberg's son. Who do you think you are? Oh, my dad's a famous wrestler. Ooh. Don't just come into this business like that. I respect it. Anyway,
Respect the business.
next up was the War Raiders versus the New Day.
takes from the second generation wrestlers caught.
Big knee from Eric to Kingston, takes us to a break. When we come back, Xavier Woods is in trouble until he gets over to Kofi Kingston. Hot tag, he runs wild. There's a big running flip dive onto Ivar. He goes up top, flies over Eric, hits a high clothesline, hits the ropes, hits a boom drop, sets up for trouble in paradise, but Woods slaps him on the back. Let me do it. Let me hit my finish. Kingston's all confused. Eric knocks Kingston out the ring, and the Raiders give Woods their War Machine finisher and get the win.
I just, same as what I said in the promo, really. Like, I get it. You should do it. This is the way to do it. It was a bit on the nose for me this week, personally. They've had better weeks, this story, I think.
Yeah. Bit contrived in terms of the plotting. And the only thing I took from this match, which was pretty drab, was I was just thinking, like, you don't have to talk about this. Like, Corey Graves.
I thought this too.
Corey Graves was... who was he on commentary with?
Was it not? It wasn't.
Was it Corey Graves?
Yeah.
On Raw last night.
Yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Corey Graves and whoever. Was it Cole?
It was Cole last night.
yeah.
Cole and Graves last
No,
night.
that's not already.
So it was Cole and Graves last night. And Graves was saying, they've had this many injuries. It's like, they're not really telling the story of them coming back. It's not like Kenny ahead of All Out 2022. This is not really a plot development worth dwelling on.
Yeah.
You're meant to be thinking, all right, if it is worth dwelling on, they're not really telling that story in the matches.
These big lads with weak necks.
Yeah, they're like...
It was when he said.
Well, I'm getting there.
Sorry, yeah.
The total powerhouse destroyers, right? And like, they're not... There's no pathos to the story. They're not like losing. Then you know what I mean? Like... I think it's meant to take them as read. It's like, oh, we're back and we're going to kick your ass and we're just powerhouse horse dudes. And you got Corey Graves saying, they've had this many injuries and be on the shelf for this accumulated amount of time, blah, 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 blah. And then Cole's like, well, all right, well, how? And then, they've had to adapt. And then Michael Cole's going, well, what are you talking about, Corey Graves? How they had to adapt. And Corey Graves just going, there's some word salad about, well, if you don't adapt, you get fall behind, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, Cole, the thing is, they don't do as many high spots now, and they're actually a bit more dull. And the intensity's not there. But, you're not even telling the story, so you're just doing unnecessary... you know why this is a bit boring? Well, I'll explain.
What? The moveset is mostly the same, like you say, aside from the high fly. Still, it's not like they've completely changed.
Yeah,
like the ground game.
Yeah, Ivar's not cartwheeling for fun. They're not doing remember the friggin' Viking Raiders versus Aleister Black and Ricochet?
Yep.
When they were going we can do all that stuff as well, and we're massive.
Move for move against it.
It was
it's one of the best
awesome.
WWE tag matches ever, maybe.
I love that so much, man. They're not doing that anymore. And
That might not mean they're not doing Viking rules anymore, by the way.
I know we love the boat.
War rules, but it's on a boat.
Yeah,
War rules.
They should do that. I mean, let's keep the boat. Keep the boat. So I have very few thoughts on this match. So instead, I thought I would talk about something else.
Oh.
Okay. We've touched upon this every now and then on a podcast. Commuting etiquette.
Oh, I love this.
So I don't know if we could do like any sort of jingle for a segment or anything. I really don't have anything at the top of my head.
I like driving in my car.
It wasn't my car.
So I had to take the bus.
The metro. The local train service.
You nailed it.
So, I know how can we jingleize this segment. I don't know. Oh, dear. Am I in the wrong? So that's what we'll do. Where are your manners, young man? Am I in the wrong? So that's what we're doing, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So I get on my stop.
Where are your manners, young man? I'll kill you.
I'll kill you, daft. So I get on the metro, right? And
I've heard he's talking about your girl and lovers. Wrestling.
Are you mush? So here's the situation, and I would like you to be honest and be upfront with me, right? We're transparent. We can call each other out. And you're crap.
I do. I was on the metro.
So I was talking about a different thing. So I got on the metro, right? And if you have never used the Nexus operated Tyne Weir Metro,
Walk alone in the unknown.
so it's basically a train. And you get on, and there's like a standing area, and then there are either like 3 seats on either side, or there are like 4-person booths where you need to sit opposite people.
Don't
right?
care for them.
I don't really care for them.
Room.
There's not enough leg room, but you just deal with it. Okay. So there's 4-person booths or 6 4-person booths, right? It doesn't really matter. So I sit on one of those, and as is required by commuting etiquette, I sit by the window, even though I'm fairly certain that I was on the school run, so I missed rush hour. I'm fairly certain if I wanted to, I could just do the old man spread if I was so inclined. I'm not inclined, okay? Because I don't like the idea of like a big horde of people coming on at the next stop and going, actually, I'm quite comfortable now. I want people to know I'm not an arsehole.
Yeah.
I'm not entitled to the entire carriage. I'm just going to sit by the window just in case.
My bag doesn't need a seat.
My bag doesn't need a seat. Even though realistically, I could have just put it there and then moved it if someone came on. I don't like to communicate that I'm potentially one of these people.
Yeah.
So I sit there, bag on my lap, and you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, 2020 was only 4 years ago, guys. 2020 was only 4 years ago. And it's not the end of January just yet. It's not bitter cold where you can feel the piss before you even need it. You know that kind of cold, right? Where you're shivering. And it's like, it's a horrible kind of biting cold. It's not that cold yet. In fact, personally, for me, I like a bit of a chill in the air. I like how crisp it is at this time of year. I think it's pleasant. More to the point, it's 2020, 4 years ago. We learned quite a lesson, didn't we, in 2020? So what I decided to do is I opened the window for a bit of ventilation. Truthfully, there's a little bit of I like the chill in the air. I like to feel that sensation in the autumn, okay? But also, there's not a single window open. I would just quite like it for a little bit of peace of mind, okay? So I'm sat in my booth. There's one person there. It's like, well, you can move if you want. I'm opening this window for your health. And I'm just sat there minding my own beeswax when about a minute later, there is someone, a booth behind me, who's got their own booth and their own closed window next to them, reaches over into my booth and slams that window. This person sits back down. I mull it over for about 5 seconds and go, nah, I want that open, actually. Open the window, take out the earbud and say, I'm opening that because I'm the one who sat next to it. And this person
Break
could...
the both of us, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm stepping off the metro at the next stop and throwing myself in front of the metro to not live that experience again. Like, I don't know how you did that. I've got like
incredible.
Well, I'm not being funny. It wasn't some brick house bloke. It wasn't. I mean, if it's
I've got a great deal of admiration and respect for that, because if I'm in that situation, I grumble to myself and sit and deal with my circumstances angrily internally, and then try and squash it down later on, probably with a Kinder Bueno. Like, that's what I do. But like, I eat those feelings later.
If it's some like 6'5" guy who could, really do some damage to me, I'm probably not doing it. But in this situation, happily for me, it wasn't. So I was opening it when I'm the one sat next to it, so I would like it open. I think the phrasing was a little bit poor. What I was trying to say was just go into another seat.
Yeah.
If you're feeling a little bit chill. Who's in the wrong?
So everybody is in the wrong. And I'm saying that as a devil's advocate on your side, because I don't have an issue with you wanting it ventilated. You've applied...
It's for her health.
Well, this is it. You've applied health standards when really at this point, I would say I have forgotten. It was 4 years ago. I don't care about that. A window is for temperature, not for ventilation anymore. You've
But
you've thought with a more broader palette than I would have done about that specific situation.
I just think that any little win you can potentially prevent. It's getting to that time of year when all sorts of viruses are flying around. Why don't we just try? I hate the idea of it's that time of year. If you take measures, you wash your hands, you dirty bastards, you freaks.
Yeah, we're not talking
Open a window now and then. Maybe don't cough with your mouth open. Maybe don't suck the snot back into your own head. Maybe blow your nose, cover your mouth when you cough, open a few windows, wash your hands every time you go to the toilet. Maybe we can just take small incremental steps so we don't have to feel this way at least once during this time of year.
Agree with all of that.
Every little helps.
Windows on transport. I think more people would see that as a temperature situation than a health one. However...
It's not even that cold, mate.
And the thing about being cold is, as long as you've sort of dressed appropriately, and commuters will, because commuters prepare for situations, you can, especially on something like a metro or a train, you can get warm simply by being inside with the window
open. Just deal with it for 20 minutes.
You can have it. See, and I did want to get to this. And this is where, like, I'm not taking the side of a stranger over you. I love you.
You can.
I love you.
Please do if you want. That's what we're here for. Apparently, we're not here to review Raw. We're here for this.
Here's the chat I want to have, Sid, and I want you to be honest and straight with me right here. Is there an element of this where that window, and this is every window on every train, is there some power going on there? Somebody getting to be the boss of the window? And did you want to be the boss of the window over that person being the boss of the window? Because I would look at the window, and as it was when I sit on the train, somebody that is a people pleaser and horrified at the thought of any confrontation ever would look at that window and be like, that either suits me or doesn't, but I'm just taking it as it comes. You don't. You like, I want it that way. Tell me why. Like,
want it that way.
And did that other person...
Tell me why.
Who is also doing their own podcast.
Because it's for your health, that's why.
Yeah.
Like, it's for your health, my health, everyone's health, and quite frankly, it's a pleasant, crisp
I feel like window control is a power issue between the people that want ownership of that.
I think we have a very different conversation, I agree, in January, if this happens. But it's, remember, the 10th of May, but it's bonfire night, of course, as well tonight. It's only the 5th of November. And I completely agree with what you did.
You don't have a winter walk, you have a nice autumnal walk.
The
temperatures are lovely.
But I agree.
Stumble in the fall.
I agree with you. That's your window, especially because it's not rush hour, especially not someone's just stuck there and they've gone, I've bloody completely misjudged this. I've looked outside and it's slightly sunny and I've gone, shorts and T-shirt it is, which, that's kind of on you. But regardless, if you're like, oh, God, I'll try and keep as warm as I can whilst I'm on the transport. If it's an emptier train, it's your window, first and foremost. They're not sat across from you, are they? They're sat that's their window. Do what you like with that window. That's your window.
They can still feel the window, though.
Yeah,
still feel the cold.
It's double digits.
Train, you see,
but it's double digits now. It's still double digits in terms of temperature. Yeah. If you really don't like it, Metro's long. You can go further. It's not going to affect the most of the train if that's one of the only windows open.
Yeah.
And also, I find half the time when I use public transport, I've usually misjudged it and been late, and I'm boiling, and I want to cool down when I'm on there. So worst comes to worst, if I've taken my coat off because I want to cool down and gone, a bit drafty now, put your coat back on. So I completely agree with what you did, but there's no chance of me ever doing it.
Let's get granular with this. Do you recognise this person?
From my regular,
commute.
That's a good question.
Because you said something there that really triggered something in me. Grinds my gears at Christmas
here we
time.
go.
And me and you had this conversation just last week, right? Commuters, of which I am one, of which Sidge is one, through public transport, just accept certain things. Even Sidge's case here. Like on some days, more tolerant of a window than others. Bags on, it is annoying, but you're just in it. And it's like at Christmas, when there's shoppers, when there's things to go and see and do, whatever, and then they get on the train.
It's 5 o'clock.
And it's busier. Why? Because they're on it.
Have a cup of coffee or not at work.
Yeah, you were listening to this conversation that they're having loudly, saying, well, it's a disgrace, there's not more trains on today to discuss, and like, I can't believe it's this busy. It's busy because of you head. Like, and then there's loads of silent conversations going on between you and the other commuters. Eye contact chats of, this is their fault. Like we just get on with this every day at this time, like with this service that is imperfect, but is required by us 52 weeks a goddamn year, and this is the week they're choosing to make this difficult and making it worse in the half an hour where like they're louder than my earphones. I'm not saying this is you, but when you said I don't need to use the metro very often, so I just like it this way, and it's like, well, you can like it this way, but we're having it our way.
We're all hating you. We all know you're not one of us. Yeah.
If you're just having a nice little shop on Black Friday or whatever, get on it at 4.
Yeah.
Or if you think, I could really make this worse, and I don't have the right to complain about this, have a cup of coffee, have a pint.
Yeah. But then you're in the danger of you then going into the pubs, which these people have dedicated their time to throughout the year, and now I'm guilty of this. Now you're one of the Christmas people going, the pub's a bit busy, isn't it? Jeez, you can barely sit down in it.
He's right there.
Like,
coffee is the answer. Coffee or like more like a bit of food, something like that. Yeah.
Nice cup of coffee from our friends at Good Brews. If you're at the interchange.
Nice work, that.
They sponsored the segment.
Indeed. That was, and there we have it. We'll package that up for them and they'll love it. But yeah, I'm with you on this one, Sidge. I think it's a different conversation in January, or if it's snowing or whatever, but not right now. You get on at like, what, 8:30-ish? Something like that?
That's the thing. I did the school run today, so I was past that rush hour.
Oh, there you go then, yeah.
Here's something. If the person in the same booth as me, and yes, you can still feel that draft elsewhere on the carriage, if the person in the same booth as me says, I'm really cold, could you close that window? My sense of empathy would be triggered, and I'd think, what if, God damn it, like she's not doing so hot at the minute, and she can't really put her heating on, and she's just come in really cold. I'd say, yeah, of course.
Or then again, you could think, why are you so cold? Are you ill? I need to open this window to make sure there's
I would just, you know what I would do in that situation? I would move. If people are like, it's no inconvenience to me whatsoever if there's something happening in this particular heat map of the train that I don't like the vibe of, I'll move. I hate when people will sit there. Cover your mouth. I'll just go, right, okay, see you later, guys. I'll move because it's not hard.
For health purposes, I'm now thinking, is there a justifiable case for all public transport to just, rather than having windows that could be open and closed, just have like ventilated windows where it's a bit of both, and there's no.
Don't live in a nanny state. We should be able to figure this out by ourselves.
Well, we're trying to do it right here on this podcast, but they're like other people won't be like having these chats while reviewing last night's episode of World Wrestling Entertainment.
Other people aren't fatally neurotic like myself.
We're trying to fix this here.
I don't want a nanny state. I just want people to exercise a little bit of personal responsibility, and if they don't just move when there's the option.
I'm trying to think, in New York, is there not like those windows that just always open on the subway?
There's the like grates.
Yeah.
I
feel like,
I don't know. We'll have to go back and check.
What a town. They got it right. In this.
Crazy town.
Crazy town.
Well, speaking of travelling...
mind the windows, you got to worry about them subway rats, am I right?
Just doing a segue, mate.
Speaking of travelling... WWE confirmed their Road to WrestleMania European Tour. 11 cities, I think it is. Yep. They're going to be hitting on the build-up to WrestleMania. It's very exciting, that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Case closed. I was just going to make the point.
see, only because he told me that it's going to be tea time, Raw and SmackDown.
I'm not saying they can't do it again afterwards, but isn't it like a total banker where your domestic gates are going to be up and hot? It's the WrestleMania season. And then when it's like, all right, okay, we're going to have to do the next 2 pay-per-views after WrestleMania, have a challenger that you don't particularly buy going at least 2 pay-per-views for some friggin' reason because it's WWE. Isn't that the time to travel?
counter argument, that could mean it's later in the year.
Why not both?
Yeah, counter argument, that could mean they go back to Puerto Rico for Backlash.
I think they are.
Or the Tokyo Dome.
Or the Tokyo.
There's a Puerto Rico show. I forget if they haven't named which one it is yet, but they've said they're going to do PLE in Puerto Rico. And
Yes.
so that's going to be.
Every worked punch just gets this absolutely thunderous ovation.
And as well,
Get
they
Bad
could.
Bunny on that show. I don't care who else works it. I could not care less.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's all we know.
While you're in that town on the European tour, there's no better time to promote. And by the way, buy your tickets tonight because we're going to be here in May for
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's they could probably use it for that, and just time zones. Those Netflix Raws or the Tea Time Smackdowns in WrestleMania season. Don't get no better than this, folks.
Love it. It does.
I thought it was just good having it in May. I thought I'm going to treat myself to a Friday night in front of the telly with me tray for the Clash at the Castle Go Home Smackdown. And WrestleMania, the Road to WrestleMania one. Joking me.
Speak of WWE on tour, a shout out to Martin, who's celebrating his birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Martin.
You tweeted us earlier, Martin. Thank you for this. Happy birthday from all of us. He's saying, looking forward to seeing the Fed later on my birthday. Have a great time.
Awesome. That lots of really cool stuff from these tours. I like it when you can type in WWE Live, whatever the city is, Newcastle, Nottingham, something like that, and just go on the hashtag. There's people having a blast.
Cody and
over
Sam was great, wasn't it? We were looking at earlier.
I do. I'll go on the hashtag on a night when they're in like a UK town or something. Just see
Got the hashtags. All right, Dad.
just people because they've tagged it so they can get read out on the board.
Yeah.
And it's just you see people buying the Eat shades and stuff, and it's I love it when the business is hot. I absolutely love it.
I hate it.
World makes sense to me when the Fed's hot.
No, it really doesn't to me. Everything I dreamed about and kind of wished for is now dead.
Open the window. What's that, sir? Why, it's a little child whispering yeet. The Fed is hot again.
You have to do a weekly temperature check on how popular the World Wrestling Federation is because I don't know. Maybe you'll have to do it every day. You'll have to tell us.
That's why you open the
It's
window.
the Fed hot pamphlet. Me.
Let me just open this metro window. Yeah, they're still whispering yeet.
Every tweet start Fed's hot and Jesus. And nah.
The next station is Hot Fed.
Sami Zayn comes out.
Mind the gap.
He greets the fans in Arabic. Says how proud he is to come out in front of
Long gap, brother. WWE up here, wrestling, all of it down there.
That way.
Down there. No, I had my dreams. I've got a cat now.
Fed's hot on the rest of wrestling's cock height.
I've had a really good period where everything I kind of manifested in various WhatCulture lists about what WWE should do to make it better, everything I really wanted out of a pro wrestling mainstream major arena outfit. Oh my God, I got it. That's weird. That's a unicorn. That doesn't really happen. That should not be happening. It's dead now, but I've got a cat. I love my cat. Really, really love my cat. So you can get happiness wherever you find it.
Yeah.
So you're right.
Sami Zayn, it says he's proud to be able to come out in front of his people and speak their language on WWE TV, but that's not why he came out. He wanted to address what happened at Crown Jewel with the Bloodline. Jey Uso entered. Thanked Zayn for having his back at Crown Jewel. Says, I watched the footage, but you need to tell me whether or not you kicking Roman Reigns was an accident before Zayn, who looked surprised by the accusation, can answer, though. Out comes Jimmy Uso scowling away, saying we all saw the same thing. EU kicked the OTC dead in the face on purpose. Says, I was pissed, Reigns was pissed, you should be pissed, Jay. Zayn can't be trusted. Sami says, come on. Before me and Jay, before Jimmy and Roman, it was me and you, Jimmy. You were my dog. You brought me in first, Jimmy. The second thing started to go bad, you kicked me in the face. Then Roman. And when Jay had a chance to do things on his own, you kicked Jay in the face. It's always you. And Jimmy says, I don't owe you a damn explanation. I'm not the bad guy here. But Sami Zayn tells Jimmy that he didn't hate him. He never did. He wasn't a bad guy, but he made bad decisions. He came out of Crown Jewel for one reason, and that reason is Jey Uso. He said, look, standing alongside you, Jimmy, Jay, and Roman, felt like old times. Felt special for a minute. But only a minute did it feel pretty damn good. That's how long it lasted. It all fell apart like it always did with the four of us. I'm not doing this again. I'm not having my loyalty tested. I'm not being put on trial by your family again. He apologises to Jay. Says, I'm not doing it again. Tells Jay, I'm out. Goes to leave. But Jay asked him to come to SmackDown this week so they could talk things out like family. Jimmy says, Sami Zayn's not family. Jay says, no, I was wrong when I said that. You might not be blood related, but you are family. I see Jimmy Uso, I see Jey Uso, and I see Sammy Uso.
Oh my God.
Oh, I love this.
I did like that.
This segment just absolutely sung all out of the shop. Where to even begin? We'll start at the very end, actually, because Jey Uso taking that role when it was once Roman's to say to Sammy in order to neg Jey was quite a fantastic callback when Jey was the one that was fuming at the idea that it could be a Sammy Uso, and now we come all the way back round and it's, it's completely flipped, as it should do, as Sammy lays out. I really, really appreciated the implication from Sami Zayn that you can ruffle Jimmy Uso's hair as it happens. Like, following that, we talked about this in the Crown Jewel review of, it was an accident. It was obviously an accident. How are you going to get around that? And it's just Jimmy Uso makes bad calls, like the tears of the clown. Like, the fact that, he kind of continues to make these bad decisions because he does just want this easy life. And
he's a moron. It's an idiot plot.
He can be a bit impulsive, and then after the fact, and look, you can see it now, look, you two brothers have come back together. And just the idea that, Sami Zayn is so hesitant to sort of just rebuild this bridge, even in this moment where he felt quite good being back amongst it. It's so crucial, not just to this story, not just to War Games, the build to that, but to the Kevin Owens element of all of this as well. Because when Kevin Owens is horrifically violent to his friend Sami Zayn for rejoining the Bloodline, he's going to forget that Sami Zayn went through his own sort of emotional trial here about getting back into it. And Sami Zayn has laid out exactly why he's not going to get back into this fight, only to find himself doing it for the right reasons. And then one day that's going to feed the next storyline, and the one after that, and the one after that. Jey Uso was brilliant here in his performance. So was Jimmy, actually.
Yeah.
He did look almost like he kind of reduced himself to sort of that of a Aggie teenager, because that was what made sense here in this specific context that Sammy and Jey were laying out.
Especially because he's changed so much in just a few weeks when he was there going, come on, let's get Jey back.
Yeah,
come on.
It's he probably deserves a little bit more credit for being able to reduce himself when a month ago he was I called the play. He can shift he can shift the power he has in a segment quite impressively. Oh, big Jim. And I'm mega hyped for SmackDown now. So effective promotion of the story as well.
The plotting is hideously contrived. Just watch the tape. It's always been pretty hideously contrived. I don't think it's elegant. I hate and resent the amount of praise that is thrown at this. Emotionally, I felt something for it. Sammy Us. Sammy's great. I'm turning around on Jey Uso. It's an idiot plot. I resent the acclaim it garners, and yet, if you take away the logic and the plotting and the scaffolding and everything else, ultimately it should make you feel something, and this does make me feel something. Sami Zayn's just great at what he does, I guess.
Jey Uso's had a really good weekend. I think the bold call to have Roman Reigns lose and things like the entrance and how Jey led this segment makes me. You remember when LA Knight?
That's what's good about it.
Remember when LA Knight was
strokes,
in the title picture, and then they kind of found his level at the US title, and then actually one day could he go again?
No.
Maybe with Jey Uso you can. He's won and lost the Intercontinental title. The main event picture always looked closed off because he just doesn't have the matches realistically, and there's always this thing just get the tag team back together. Maybe you can try both with Jey Uso, because this weekend and in the weeks sort of leading up to this, he's felt like a really an even bigger deal than he has felt in some of those incredible entrances when he was having title matches.
It's not just a feeling as well. That news report came out that he's the top merchandise shifter. No, it's an interesting one. It's just fascinating to go back to 2020, which is only 4 years ago, to how Jey Uso was lamenting the idea of he's got a little win, he might get a match, to he could be the big star on this promotion. It's just they've done a fantastic job. Ultimately, maybe the plotting doesn't matter that much, but it annoys my sensibilities, certainly.
Ahead of the main event, Jackie Redmond is backstage, set to interview Seth Rollins.
So they sing it every week.
Puts over Bronson
It's what
Reed.
got him over the line, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
The song.
He respected their fight, knew they'd do it all over again, but that was down the line. He had gold on his mind. Says three of the best in the world are going to go at it, and Dominic Mysterio, all for a chance to go after Gunther, after Crown Jewel, after what I went through. I know exactly who I am.
You said that again?
Seth Rollins.
He doesn't really give us the creeps, but that bloody Wyatt Sicks segment earlier really gave me the creeps.
Don't worry, it's coming.
Okay.
I'll find it. Oh, there it is. Sorry, say that again.
I was just thinking about that goddamn segment where he got kidnapped and all the scary things are happening to the Miz. It just gives the creeps.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because I'm sorry to do this, but it's something else that might
No.
throw you off. Is the Raw Riddle.
God, the Raw Riddle gives me the creeps.
Shut the window, it's freezing.
As always, that's what we should do next time. Hit them with the Raw Riddle. See if they're just so spooked out they just leave the train at that point.
Frozen on the spot.
As always, hit you with this to test your noggin on the Raw preview. And now, after the ads, we'll give you the answer on the Raw review. I asked you yesterday, what word of 5 letters has one left when 2 are removed?
It'll be one left, O-N-E, stone.
Stone. I was thinking tones. So we're kind of like, yeah, stone.
Stone.
Reminds me of the assistant to the GM on NXT, whose name actually completely escapes me now.
It's Robert Stone.
This week's.
Also, there's so many words that fit.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Credit to them for getting the right one.
Bad.
That's this week's Raw Riddle.
There's never one left in that office, is there? There's always like 3 of them.
Yeah.
Got a big announcement tomorrow.
Jack Gable.
Oh, that's another rib.
What's the,
Our huge announcements actually draw reigns. If in fact it wins.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, it's developmental, so can't lose.
Yeah.
You can never lose, baby.
I watched the segment you told me about, by the way, with the answer machine message. I am jazzed for Wednesday night now.
Now, so you went before.
I didn't know. I've not caught up on it, so didn't know what to expect.
That's fair. That's fair of you.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen of the city of Extreme, please welcome Shawn Michaels. I cannot wait, mate.
Chad Gable versus Dragon Lee came next.
It's because the Fed's hot, right?
Just ECW Arena was a religious experience when I visited, and the only thing that would have made it better was seeing NXT there.
Still time.
Van Damme came out to Pantera, man.
I mean,
Just like,
it's
oh,
unbelievable stuff.
You had the old Brewski there, didn't you?
Brewski with the Sandman. I hope he's on NXT. I hope he's the one they're keeping in the back pocket, and he just pops up at the end. Don't need him to wrestle, obviously. Never did.
Never did. So early on, Gable chucks Dragon Lee on his head, basically, straight out the gate. But Lee fights out of a headlock, snaps his singlet against his chest. Ooh. Hits a high crossbody to get 2. They go to the apron. Lee hits a knee. And Gable hits a back body drop off the apron to the floor, which commentary were like, I think Dragon Lee's dead, basically. Find out if he's still alive after the break.
That, I'm going to put this over because, spoiler alert, I thought the match was just good. That took her the head at the last second. Pumped some blood into my dick, I'll tell you that. It did.
Yeah.
We come back from the break. Dragon Lee hits a double foot stomp off the top, but Gable hits an overhead suplex into the corner. Dragon Lee comes back, kicks Gable right in the face when he's upside down on the middle rope, hits a corner drop kick. They exchange some big forearms. Dragon Lee hits a German suplex, but Gable no-sells it, hits a German of his own. Dragon Lee no-sells that. They trade counters, and Gable hits consecutive German suplexes. Commentary are loving this intensity that we're seeing. Dragon Lee comes back with a Liger bomb for 2. Gable suplexes him off the top and hit a cliffhanger DDT. He tries to cover with his feet on the ropes, but Zelina Vega's there to knock his feet off. Ivy Nile goes after her, puts her in the Dragon Sleeper. Down comes Rey Mysterio. Gable tries to attack him and go after his mask, and that allows Dragon Lee to hit Operation Dragon and get the 1-2-3.
This is like that Reddit thread thing, am I the arsehole? Because am I the arsehole for just thinking this was fun?
Yeah.
Like, there was what would it be? Probably like the German suplex exchange is a good example, but there were several in this match where crowd were game. Not as game as there might have been once upon a time before all of this style got bastardized and overused and overexposed. And the commentators were just marveling at it, and I believed them and all of that. And I was just like, yeah.
Is that your noise of the week for the match?
Yeah.
Do it again.
Like,
Good one.
I was just resigned almost to sort of
Feel nothing.
knowing that I was never going to like reach a peak with this match.
I don't think the match reached a peak in itself.
God, they were trying. And like, you know what was fresh in my mind was
Little blighters.
Fraser Cranium, beloved listener,
Yes.
viewer of this podcast, Fraser
Indeed.
Cranium, tweeted myself and Sid last night about Kurt Angle and just how he makes you feel when you're
The
watching.
feud anniversary, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yesterday.
maybe that was why. And but talking about like all the amazing things Kurt Angle was brilliant at, and I was saying Sid's been mentioning geniuses a lot lately, and I think for years and years and years and years, the purists were just on Kurt Angle for his like supposed lack of psychology. And I think there's an argument to be made about that. Maybe like removed him from that genius tier, but the things that man could do with his like body as an athlete, and then like the comedic timing he was able to apply while simultaneously being just a psychopath killer in there, I would classify as genius because he was a one-off, Kurt Angle. And I'm not just using him because Chad Gable is the obvious comparison and R-Truth gets a good bit out of it backstage. It's because sometimes the moves used to mean more. And I would even say Chad Gable has been in matches where the moves mean more. When he's in a story that connects and when he's in a role that connects, the moves mean everything. He's the standout guy from an episode of Monday Night Raw. This just wasn't that. So I'm not even holding him to some sort of like mythical standards of how much wrestling we watch in a week and what you expect. I think I'm just holding him to his. And I don't think this was like one of the Chad Gable epics. Just think it was a nice bit of business.
Nice bit of business. The head tuck from that back body drop did something to me. A lot of this didn't. I don't know. I still maintain that WWE just doesn't really go for this kind of thing. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the agent's instruction to not do too much or not set too blistering a pace or really drop each other on each other's heads, even though some nice angles on these suplexes, I will say that. And that's just a frisson, an energy that's just missing when WWE tries to do this style. It's always been this case, more often than not. There's probably some isolated examples. It's always been like this. It probably always will be like this. And I just simply don't get it. You stick these exact same wrestlers on even an episode of Collision, and I think it's 5 times the match.
Yeah, I was thinking about American Made as an act.
Yeah.
Is the American Made act in WWE this thing that exists to hit this quite low ceiling, where in wrestling 2024, in something like an AEW, they could be a main event act. They could be like their matches and the style they bring could find them. Let's say you had a babyface BCC and it was like, we're going to see Julius against Bryan Danielson tonight. And
yeah.
It's going to run him to the wire in a Dynamite main event that immediately makes American Made feel like headliners. Within WWE, it's like, well, are they as entertaining as the Bloodline? Not really. Yeah. So, like, doesn't matter how good the Germans look. And it's like, can they, like, their glass ceiling is lower than a Jimmy Uso's, realistically. And I don't know if you ever can, I don't know if you can wrestle around that ever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's odd. It just didn't really do a great deal for me. It's just that WWE good match problem. I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's probably the agents. It's probably instruction of, it's WWE, come on. Can't go that hard. It can't be that intense. I don't know. The weird, like the psychology of the match was very much like, well, we're both great at wrestling. Who's the better wrestler? That's, I mean, I don't want to be too much of a dick and reduce it, but that's essentially what we're playing with here. And then you just do this proper American TV finish, just tacked on to the end. Just didn't even fit together.
Yeah. I don't think that we're yet again back in a loop with Chad Gable of the company not knowing what they've got with him, and he himself maybe not knowing exactly what heel to give them. Because there is a vicious killer, Chad Gable heel, that hasn't really been uncorked in this American-made story yet. So it's all a bit, it's very, very mid. Like nobody in a hot time, nobody is campaigning for American-made to get more of a push. Yeah. And I think that's telling.
Yeah.
There's no catharsis in that finish as well, because if Chad Gable, because you're doing a heat, interference, distraction, American TV finish. If Chad Gable's this dark little loser cheater in the match, which he kind of wasn't, you might think, you got yours. Just these things didn't connect.
They just shoved the foot on the ropes bit at the end and then went, right, turnabout's fair play. No.
Yeah, but the 90% of it was just a pretty competitive, hard-nosed match. It just didn't fit.
It's a tag match next week as well. You know, for like they've done the Zelina Vega Ivanhoe last week.
Check.
Singles.
Check, yeah.
Tag.
Jackie Redmond interviews Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser about his loss to Cody Rhodes. Kaiser's pissed off at the even questioning it, but Gunther says, hey, calm down. Rhodes didn't get lucky. He wasn't undeserving. He was the better man. Redmond's asked about the number one contenders 4-way. Gunther says there's 3 very capable competitors and Dominic Mysterio. Rollins' ability speaks for itself. Priest represented another difficult challenge. There's also Sheamus, who Kaiser was supposed to take care of. Gunther says, look, I'm still the champion, but after losing on Saturday, it's on me to do better. And then he looks at Kaiser and says, we both need to do better.
Like, WWE wins and losses matter enough again that a Gunther character can survive a defeat like this. The Sami Zayn one was historic for its own sort of reasons and the title. Gunther has lost 2 matches now, but look at how much it means to him and how he sort of assesses it and what he's going to do next and stuff. You have to kind of earn that. Like that, this champion wouldn't exist in a system that didn't support him.
Yeah.
Main event time. It was the fatal 4-way to determine Gunther's next challenger. Sheamus, Dominic Mysterio, Seth Rollins, and Damian Priest. Dom early on realizes he doesn't quite level up to the same point as the other 3 guys, so he just runs away from him. So much so that he thinks he's got away with it, jumps up on the apron to taunt the crowd, and Sheamus just appears behind him.
That's a man who gets it.
Lovely.
That's a man who
this.
gets this audience and works to them.
And what everything, this spot that leads to Damian Priest doing the old kind of, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the referee allowing Cody to give MJF one shot. That kind of like, you know what, I know we're in a 4-way, have this. And then Seth Rollins enjoys it and then pinches a roll up out of it because he's the most really, really nice little constructed moment.
Yeah.
Establish the vibe straight away.
Rollins takes out Sheamus and Priest with a suicide dive and then a one on Dom on the other side. They go to a break. We come back. Dom's in control. He shoved Rollins off the top during the break and shoved Sheamus into the ring steps. He hits a tornado DDT on Damian Priest. Talks some trash. That means Priest fires up as Dom's trying to lay in punches. He hits some strikes, a corner elbow, flatliner. But Sheamus comes in, hits backbreakers on all 3 of them. Crowd chant for him. He's very over here. He hit Dom with a diving knee drop, but Rollins breaks up the cover. Priest clotheslines him. Takes us to another break when we come back. Damian Priest and Sheamus are going at it. Sheamus hits a white noise for 2. Dom set up Sheamus for a 619, but Sheamus hit him with a power slam. Went for the bro kick, but Rollins knocked him out with a knee strike. Rollins gave Dom a pedigree, but didn't go for the cover. Sets up for a curb stomp instead. But here comes big Bronson Reed. He attacks Sheamus and Priest outside the ring. Rollins goes after him, but Reed clotheslines him and clears the announce table. Priest and Sheamus get back up and go after Bronson, though. They all go back into the ring. But Reed fights both of them off. Both of them get Death Valley drivers. Both of them get huge tsunamis as Dom just peeks from the outside. And Reed puts Rollins through the announce table with a tsunami off the barricade. And Dom just waits till he leaves and goes up top, hits Sheamus with a big frog splash, but Damian Priest, right at the very last second, breaks up the cover, breaks our hearts with that. Dom gives Priest a 619, sets up for another frog splash, but as he jumps up the top, Priest catches him, hits him with a huge South of Heaven chokeslam, and gets the 1-2-3. Damian Priest is the number 1 contender.
Negatives first, because then I got a lot of positives. I can't pretend I'm not a little bit gutted that Dominic didn't win, because I thought they'd absolutely nailed the finish as well. I kind of want to live in the timeline where Dominic wins that match and Bronson Reed has just not only kind of like extended his feuд with Seth Rollins, he's just created 2 brand new enemies on Raw, if not more, because everybody would look upon Dominic as this undeserving contender and Bronson Reed is the reason why he won. So you had this opportunity to make him this like locker room pariah. You know, your nonsense in the car park, that's all well and good, but now you brought it into my world because Dominic Mysterio could somehow get away with his title. I really wish that was a finish because that would have been such an inspired way to get and keep everybody over and generate this cool, kind of unique title match that we talked about yesterday.
And it's kind of a free hit, isn't it? Because like whether or not you do it on telly or you do it at Survivor Series, like I love Gunther, but no one's buying Survivor Series for Gunther's title match. They're watching it for the Bloodline War Game stuff.
I do really wish they just committed to the bit because it was like flawless execution of that as well. Because
they did Cody versus Dom, didn't they, on a tape? Yeah.
Bronson Reed looked terrific, taking guys out as well. The tsunami, again, reestablishes this kill shot. So it could have been magic, and instead it kind of followed formula with the Damian Priest win. Yeah. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. Otherwise, I thought the match was tremendous. Yeah, from that kind of opening spot and the way that the promos are built to Dominic Mysterio as this just undeserving little creep in the match. Like they wrestled as themselves. I feel like I'm campaigning for this every single week at this point. I want to watch the wrestlers for who they are, not for the moves they do. I don't want that to sound grift adjacent, but honestly, it is lost a little bit. This was unmistakably these 4 men in this match. Really well agented, really well performed. Everybody protected who they were. And I wasn't rooting for Damian Priest, but I can't fault how he got about getting the match. And, you know, the mutual respect that exists from the two of them, because Gunther wasn't necessarily looking for Finn Balor's interference at SummerSlam. I think the rematch will be all right. It just wasn't the one I was rooting for. I had a lot of fun with this, a lot of time for it.
I thought it was well done. Didn't electrify me, but I thought everyone understood the rules well. There was a tension throughout. Rooting for Dominic.
Yeah.
I think it's a much cooler match. It's that time of year where, as you said, Wilborn, there's more games than there's nothing until the Rumble, basically. Let's have some experiments. Let's have some weird dynamics. Let's not revisit, because it ended on a sour note. I thought Damian Priest was a pretty rubbish world champion. And I think that the babyface turn subsequent to that title reign has not really set the world alight. So the go again with him being a fully fledged babyface. It's just one of those things where, like, I'm not saying I know everything. I'm not saying I can predict the future. What I am saying is that it will take a pretty Herculean effort by all involved, not least Priest himself, for him to actually make it in that role. And yes, it's one TV title defense or a PLE or whatever. I can't believe in Damian Priest anymore. The dude's like 50. I think he can be entertaining in his own right. I think he's got a good deadpan. I'd like him to see him in a tag team.
Oh, yeah.
As a singles main event player. I mean, the die's been cast, and I don't need to see that again.
I put it to Wilborn yesterday. I think it was on our Crown Jewel review. And I think the same can be said to Damian Priest. And this was Bronson Reed yesterday. My mind's changed a little bit because I thought this was really effective booking him. But we were talking about the positives of the Bronson Reed push, even in spite of losing. I said, but here we are this time of year. Can you really visualise Bronson Reed in a singles match at WrestleMania? Are you thinking about him in those terms? Because if you're not...
Are you fantasy booking him?
Yeah, if you're not, then it's okay to kind of put him just in the mid-card mix. And I would say the same is true of Damian Priest. I'm not really mentally looking towards WrestleMania at this point for him. CM, careful mediation, because next week, like I thought it was notable they didn't talk about when the title match is going to take place. And at some point or other, Hurricane Punk is going to breeze back into town. And where's that title match happening now?
Because he said he wants Gunther.
Yeah, he called him out when he thought the Drew match was done before Drew attacked him on that night after the strap match.
Yeah.
It was like, right, full steam ahead for Gunther, and then he was diverted again. And in the spirit of the sort of MJF program where it was like, this is all just an interruption of one of us getting a title match. Punk, the character, believes he's on track, and Punk, the real person, probably fancies that title match sooner rather than later. How does this... Curious to see where all this fits, because they didn't nail this down as a Survivor Series match. You've got Saturday night's main event. You've got Raw on Netflix.
Yeah.
There's 3 destinations where you're probably going to want a world title match. How does Punk figure in? What are we doing? Who's he going to be kept busy with in the meantime? I think, and I'm saying that's an interesting narrative question, but also because it's Punk, there's a real life element where you're like, let's have a chat about this next week. Where's this all going to fit?
Well, Les, any thoughts on that and on Raw generally in the comment section below or on X at WhatCulture WWE. Watch, you can follow all 3 of us. You can follow Michael Hamflet at
Michael Hamflet.
You can follow Michael Sidgwick at
Sidgwick.
Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow our brilliant producer at It's Adam Nicholas. And make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. But for now, it's been the Raw Review. My thanks to Hamflet Sidgwick. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.